gamers, and welcome to a showcase of upcoming indie strategy games. My name is Toadie and I will be your host for this video on Peter's channel. He has picked 8 new games for this showcase, most of which as a direct request from their developers, so I will talk about and show you everything from dark fantasy survival RTS and tactical RPGs to city building on other planets. If you want to see even more new strategy games, both AAA and indie, use this link up here and below for more similar videos. First up is Age of Darkness Final Stand, a survival RTS set in a dark fantasy kingdom consumed by a deadly fog full of terrors. In it, you must build, illuminate, and defend humanity's last bastion against hordes of nightmares. It is being developed by PlaySide, who plan on going into early access on Steam during fall 2021 with the aim of building a long-term community and engaging with their players to develop a deeper, darker, and more challenging combat RTS experience. If you have ever played They Are Billions from 2019, you will be familiar with the base gameplay, but Age of Darkness Final Stand presents a modern, darker spin on the survival RTS genre. Early access content will be an intense survival game mode. While the sun is up, players will construct buildings, gather resources, and recruit an army led by unique heroes. It is the only safe time for scouting the rich, complex, and procedurally generated map to pick off enemy monsters. But once the sun sets, players have to survive swarms of enemies numbering in the thousands. You are not expected to survive, but learn through repeat failures, refine your build orders, tactics, and army compositions. PlaySide developers are using an internally developed technology called Swarm Tech that allows the game to render over 70,000 enemy units on the screen at one time during what are called Death Nights. There are another half a dozen gameplay mechanics and elements like the Veil, a dynamic living death fog, horror and emboldened unit effects, randomized malices and blessings, unique heroes with abilities, skill trees, and more. Now, how many of you played City Skylines or any other modern city building game for that matter and wished for a sci-fi version of it in outer space and on other planets? Well, listen up, because InfraSpace will be a game just like that. It is not only a science fiction city builder, but also a traffic manager on an alien world. This game simulates every single vehicle. Each resource you ever gather, of which there are many, needs to be transported to a factory for processing, and each product needs to be moved to a habitat for consumption. Your futuristic road network can handle a lot, but without oversight, it will grind to a halt and eventually drown in traffic. You will have to build new highways, roundabouts, and multi-lane roads to ensure the production heart of the city keeps beating. As for the city building part of the gameplay, you start with a handful of resources and astronauts on a barren planet and mine, produce, and build everything necessary for their survival and productive lives. Once you secure food and shelter for them, your settlement will grow, and new scientists and engineers will be shuttled in to help with advanced production lines and to construct new buildings. These new arrivals have much higher standards of living and will require entertainment besides the bare necessities of food and rest. With a high population, new challenges like education and other civil services will present themselves and require your full set of management skills as a space mayor. Next, I want to take you from science fiction city building into the realm of fantasy fiction in Against the Storm. This is a roguelite city builder whose setting is a world on which it never, ever stops raining on several diverse biomes. The population of this planet and cities, well, it's a very unexpected mix of beavers, humans, and lizard folk. Naturally, all of them have different needs when it comes to housing, food, luxuries, and entertainment, adding to the complexity set before you as their mayor. Developer and publisher of Against the Storm is Aramite Games, and they have already added a demo version of their game on the Epic Store called Royal Woodlands, which has been updated a number of times and also shows up on Steam from time to time. As this is a roguelike game, it's about survival and not just building. Your enemy is the blight White Storm, a destructive superstorm which leaves nothing behind unless you have hidden your population in a smoldering city, a massive construction effort, and your final objective. Your each new settlement is just a stepping stone and a resource production link in a chain to that ultimate goal. There are traders in the game and a special dungeon keeper-like gameplay element of exploring forest glades which let you gain new blueprints for buildings. These are different for each new settlement and you never have all of them available at the same time, forcing you to be creative and resourceful when planning and building production chains. It's time to move a bit sideways in the strategy genre to a squad tactical RPG from a franchise you might already be familiar with. Pathfinder: Wrath of the Righteous. The developers from Owlcat Games have announced that it will come out on the current and next-gen consoles alongside PC. Wrath of the Righteous takes its players to a realm overrun by demons, where they will explore the nature of good and evil, learn the true cost of power, and rise as a mythic hero capable of deeds beyond mortal expectations. It's just as grand as it sounds. Your character will change as you play, and regardless of which mythic paths you go down, angelic, demonic, trickster, lawful, 9 in total, you will find new ways to reach the heights of power. And that is on top of the base 25 classes, 12 character races, and more than 1,000 spells, feats, and abilities from the Pathfinder 1st Edition rules. Oh, and let's not forget the 10 unique companions who you can recruit but also lose depending on where your adventures and decisions take you. In this game, you can go adventuring and into combat on horseback, but if it gets too hectic and fast for you, combat can be switched between real-time with pause and fully turn-based. This alone allows Pathfinder: Wrath of the Righteous to break sub-genre boundaries and be played by a wide audience. What is totally new is the Crusade system, a strategic layer of gameplay where the player is granted command of the 5th Crusade. That means armies numbering in the thousands, for which you need to find both recruits and leaders before taking them to the final battle and the culmination of the storyline. This next game has a similar gameplay, but it's rooted in the old Heroes of Might and Magic games, and it's something I know many of you can't get enough of. Peter covered it before in a video about upcoming grand 4X and turn-based strategy games, link up here and below. But back then it didn't have this gameplay trailer. It's called Songs of Conquest and is developed by Lava Potion as a turn-based strategy set in a fantasy land made up of distinct biomes and environments. It is full of fabulous loot, diverse monsters, town keeps, resourceful and powerful magicians called wielders. The wielders are both your heroes and your enemies. They lead your armies, loot artifacts, help combine troops to maximize available spells and damage potential, capture resources and production buildings while presenting main combat events. The units themselves have abilities and powerful magical spells, therefore adding to your own already considerable arsenal. The captured towns can be expanded and new tech researched to increase the might of your kingdom. There are 4 factions in Songs of Conquest: old school knights, swamp tribes, necromancers, and mercenary inventors. The name of the game comes from the fact that each faction and campaign comes with a unique song bards will tell about your deeds. Songs of Conquest features an in-game level editor which allows players to create their own skirmish maps or even whole campaigns using developer tools. You can script in-game events, edit the soundtrack, write dialogue, and then share everything you create with other players. This is especially great because you can play these custom and base campaigns with others online and in local multiplayer. One strategy subgenre is so rare, games in it are released literally years apart. God simulation games. The latest one Peter has come across is called Godless, which is a strange name for a god sim game, but it is in line with the story, which is about a world where the last last remaining god is at war with the mortals and wants to avenge his almost exterminated kind. His own power is not complete, and he regains it as his crusade consumes continent after continent. An important thing to mention is that Godless is made by a single lone developer and will be published on Steam. It is a roguelike turn-based game, and it is where it differs from the run-of-the-mill God Sim game while staying true, because you don't have direct control over your units in battles. They are your servants who know what is your bidding, and they do everything they can to accomplish your goal. To make them more effective for your crusade, you can combine powerful artifacts with numerous passive powers to create units with new ability combos. When you destroy continents inhabited by mortals, some of them will escape final judgment, but you will get to decide their fate. Those choices will have consequences and might turn into a blessing or a curse later in the game. As a god, you can transform landscapes, construct buildings, and summon new creatures to set up an advantageous environment for your servants. Even volcanoes are under your control, and this means that every battle and battlefield will be unique. The next game also has gods in it, but only as deities to worship and bring sacrifice to. The actual characters are monsters and mythical creatures, as well as tribal men and women. In Pagan Age, you are a leader of one such tribe on its journey to conquer and tame new lands filled by these benevolent and violent creatures. It's being developed by Glevy Games SA and will be published by Rock Game SA. At the start of each new game, a few hardy pagans will raise their totem, marking the foundation and center of their settlement. The abstract faces of their gods are carved into it and will stare at them as they gather around the fire at night, sleep, work on building homes, making food, and babies. I mean, hey, they are gods after all. What's a little voyeurism for an all-powerful godly being? So besides these violations of privacy, things would be idyllic for these pagans, save for the fact that in the forest, swamps, and caves around them live monsters from the worst and most blood-chilling horror stories. This is why, besides huts, goat farms, windmills, and other buildings, the tribe constructs wooden palisades ending in sharp, pointy logs. This naturally requires lots of wood cutting, but also farming, harvesting, animal domestication, and other jobs necessary for survival in a hostile environment. Once you train up a few range and melee warriors, you will be able to go on the offense against the creatures surrounding your now growing and prosperous pagan village to reclaim more land. The last game on this list has a name I am not sure how to pronounce, but I can at least try for your entertainment. Delphyq. Shame for display if you know the game and meme reference. Anyway, this game is a real-time strategy with tactical pause option, which is rich in tactical elements and plays similar to actual turn-based games like XCOM or Exonauts. You play as the mastermind and overseer of an elite group of combatants known as the Operatives in their struggle to take down a corrupt corporation called The Balance. Its developer and publisher Dusk Wave Arts LLC takes pride in its strategic and memorable encounters, which are made possible due to the game's extremely intelligent utility-based AI enemies. These enemies function in conjunction with its environment and, depending on the situation, also try to cooperate with other AI units on the field of battle in an attempt to flank your operatives while staying in cover. To make it possible for the player to combat these smart engines, the game is full of command and control systems like a robust waypoint and dynamic cover systems for your operatives. With this tool, you can perform actual military tactics and maneuvers like slice the pie, flanking, suppressive fire, and more. There are also advanced functions such as go codes and operative skills, which you will use on the fly. The game features a permadeath mode, which puts more weight in every decision made throughout the course of the game. But what you will probably find the most interesting about this game is that there is no RNG in it. Every hit, miss, victory, and defeat are all dictated by your own strategy and the results of tactics you implemented. If you have enjoyed my presentation, I want to invite you to check out my channel where I focus on city skylines and other simulation and management games. Link is in the description. For more lists and previews of upcoming indie but also AAA games, check out the cards on the screen. Don't forget to hit the like button if you have enjoyed this video and subscribe to get notified when Peter posts the next one. Thank you for watching and happy gaming.